Welcome to Triggers and Spiritual Medicine, a community-built and grassroots-based podcast that addresses the root issues and triggers at the intersection of our health, systems of oppression, and cultural conditioning. Together we explore what it is truly ailing us as human beings in today's world. This space is non-commercialized, so no advertising dollars are involved, because our mission is clear: to dive deep into our heart of our collective struggles and discover the spiritual medicine that can heal us personally, within our families, our communities, and our collective. Each week or each month, we sit down with extraordinary guests who share their wisdom and offer at least 3 actionable steps to help you on your journey. This is more than just a conversation. It's a call to action, a chance to tap into the healing tools we all need to move forward as a species. We explore root systems and causes through stories of healing and recovery from anything from addiction, cancer, chronic illness, domestic abuse, and more. We'll also learn from wisdom keepers, astrologers, medicine people, and lineage holders of sacred traditions, unraveling the mysteries that have survived a millennia, and examining why in Western societies we are sicker than ever before. You'll hear stories from people who have used spiritual medicine in their healing journey, whether through meditation, Reiki, expressive arts, yoga, plants, or by unpacking religious indoctrination, persecution, or decolonizing mental constructs. If you believe in this mission, please consider subscribing and support our podcast by commenting, engaging, and sharing it with others. Again, it is through your engagement our visibility increases, since we do not have any grants or advertising dollars to support this podcast. You can also become a Patreon member to help support our domestic violence community and sacred activist work. Memberships start for free, or you can join for as little as $5 a month to gain insider information, exclusive content, and more. So whether you are a healer, seeker, or simply just curious, you're in the right place. So let's journey together. So I'm back. This is Laura again from Healing with Spirit, and I'm here with Vikrant, who is from Nepal. We had, I always say when I meet somebody, there's always a reason. For those of you who've been following me, been following my journey, every person I meet, especially now these days, I feel like is always with a reason and a purpose. And when I first met Vikrant, I met him at the Cultural Survival Fair in Boston in 2024. And I knew I'm like, the chances of meeting somebody who's actually in my backyard, who kind of fits the mold of everything that I do, with unpacking, sometimes the ways that us as white America approaches spiritual practices, can sometimes be a challenge. And it's, how do we look beyond the things? And I understand why we've kind of gravitated that way, is because we come from a place of lacking our own connection to our own indigenous practices and traditions due to colonization through centuries, and probably over 1,000 years of that happening in Europe. So, and to our ancestors. I just want to read a little bit of glimpse of Vikrant's bio, just so you get an idea of what we're going to be talking about. It's going to be a very rich conversation, and definitely make sure you hit the subscribe button if you like this. Please help also consider becoming a Patreon supporter, which helps support our social justice and sacred activist work, especially around domestic violence and legislative work around that aspect. Please consider supporting that. All right, so Vikrant is a certified sound therapist specializing in ancient practices of Nada. Did I say that right? Nada
Yes.
Yoga and the Yoga of Sound and Vibration. He is initiated practitioner in the Shakta lineage of
Yes.
Tantra and teacher of classical Tantra Kundalini Yoga, a lifelong student of Advaita Vedanta. Did I say that right?
Yes.
He follows a path of non duality as his spiritual foundation through his company, Boston Vibration. He offers sound healing, meditation, yoga, tantra healing, and spiritual discourse on non duality. So this is just to give you a glimpse. He also his deep and authentic understanding. This is to me is important, folks. This is what we call authentic and deep teachings. You want to find the deep teachings who have been doing this a long time. I'm going to keep stressing this on this program, on everything else when we teach, because this is important, and we in to understand his deep and authentic understanding of these deep ancient traditions stems from years of study with esteemed teachers in Nepal and India. For over a decade, he has traveled across the US, Canada, and sharing his knowledge and offering practical insights from these timeless teachings, helping individuals integrate them into modern life for personal and spiritual growth. And I just want to welcome you, Vic. And it was such a pleasure
Thank
meeting
you,
you. I
Laura.
always say there's no coincidence, but I know we even had conversations in the past of just even reading that piece and some things that I know I have been mourning. And people have to understand those that hold the ancient wisdoms and teachings are dying. And we're losing that connection. And it's really important to continue to foster these relationships with these elders and these wisdom keepers of the original traditions, regardless of culture. Every culture has them. It's a matter of finding them, right? And to hold them sacred, because that's the real teachings, right? And I want to know, like, what is, first of all, I don't think I've ever heard of Nada yoga. Can you explain to me what that is and how it's relative to the sound healing journey that you practice?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. It's a very important question. Nada yoga, when you say nada, is like a yoga of a vibration or a sound where we believe that everything in this universe is but vibration, right? I'm sure the quantum physics is trying to prove that all this universe is but just the vibration. So the highest level of the Nada yoga, which we call in any branches of a yoga, is some would say like the emptiness, like the Buddhist philosophy. Some would say like a fullness with the idea of like a non-duality or with non-duality, and some say salvation, some say enlightenment, some say nirvana. Whatever you would say, the highest level of the Nada yoga is what you can where you can put is like you become that vibration. You see that vibration, you can hear that vibration, and everything is just vibration. So if you are seeing this is an ancient, like, this is the root of all the sound healing, all the sound yoga, all the sound bath that you are experiencing here in the West, right? It is a branch of the yoga. It depends upon the ancient naturopathy, where you use a sound as a tool of healing, and not limited to just like a healing, but you use a sound and you use a vibration in accordance to your yoga practices, where you will do certain mantras, japas. You will understand what the sound is. The one that is I'm talking with you is a gross labor, right? We call it baikari. There's other levels of the sound where you can just murmur, or you can. There's a sound that is always in your head, right? There's a sound that you don't has to listen, but it's always ringing, right? So there are various level of the sound, various level of the vibration. Of course, if I have to go detail, it's going to be like a whole day. But what I'm going to say this is, like, the Nada yoga is a yoga of sound and vibration. It is more than just listening. It's a path you follow. It's a feel you have, so, and integrate yourself in the sound. Alan Watts says the easiest way to meditate is to listen.
Mhm.
because you don't have to do anything, right? You just sit and you act on listening. And as soon as that sound hits you, as soon as you hear that sound, which in case of this, we have like a sound balls. We use a lot of sound balls. It's very accessible. It's easier. We use drums, right? Maybe you have seen the shamanic healers using the drums, and they get into their gen. They bring that energy in here. See, that is the effect of the sound, and everything that compromises is nada yoga.
Beautiful. So, how is that different for somebody who may not practice yoga? How is that different from other styles of yoga? Is it just because of the sound aspects, or is there movement involved or poses involved with this style of yoga?
So yes, so that is also like, when you talk about the yoga, there's a two approaches. It's a two-way tunnel, what I like to say, right? I mean, like, here you have a body, mind, and a spirit. What you are doing in the hatha yoga or any vinyasa yoga or a lot of kind of yoga where you do a lot of poses, it is more of you are concentrating your body, because your body need to be healthy, your body need to be clean, purified, and then you approach towards your mind. Like, it is a very amazing way to go to the path of a yogic path, right? But
Mhm.
what we see in here, most of the, I mean, what I have been seeing, and I'm sure a lot of authentic people, in the yogi community will see, is like people stop in that section. Like, they will exercise. You can call it exercise, you don't have to call it a yoga, because yoga is a 8 part force. Like, you have to, if you are doing real yoga, then you have to not only do the poses, but you have to be like, you have to detach yourself too. You have to do meditation, you have to do pranayam, you have to follow the rules and regulations, yam niyam, right? So all these things compromises in the idea that, the yoga is not just the poses. But yes, I'm not saying there are at least I would be very positive in the thing is like, yes, it's highly spreading. People are getting into the yoga. At least they are making that, okay, this is I'm doing for my body, but I want people to do more for, like, not only for their body, not only to look good or to be healthy, but then to be mentally fit. The mental health is also very important, and then you go to spiritual health, right? So a lot of in short, a lot of yoga poses, or what you see called yoga, are mostly from body to the mind, right? When you talk about the sound yoga, it's mind towards the body. So you are really hitting your mind, right? So when you
Right,
sit,
right.
where you observe that sound, the mind observes that particular sound, particular tone, particular, like, mantras, when you are vibrating yourself. So that means your inner body is working, and then you are taking it to outer bodies, right? And then
Yeah.
when you going from that to the sound healing, yes, you can use, especially, that's why I'm maybe biased, but, like, especially when you're talking about the metal balls, what we use, like, the we can, you call it Tibetan balls, or, like, Nepalese ball made in Nepal. Most of the balls you can put in the body also, to have a massage, to have the relax, to balance the energies of your chakras. So yes, that is, so these are the two approaches: one from body to mind, another mind to body. This is the second approach.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of relate to somebody. I mean, I've been using singing bowls for, I think we had a conversation. I can't even remember. I don't know if it's like 10, 15
Yeah.
years now. But I think when I started, when I first started teaching meditation, I felt like I had to do a lot of redirection with people who especially suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, some sort of trauma in their history, and including, and that could be like 911 operators, to
Yeah.
domestic violence. It's or war veterans, I've treated all three plus some. But one of the things I noticed, and I know later studies even came out with sound bowls, is it bypasses the blood-brain barrier. So there's something that happens like with regular meditation that I noticed, that it can trigger when you start to go into a relaxation response. For some people, it can actually trigger a PTSD episode because the body goes, oh, no, 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 you can't do that.
Yeah.
But there's something that happens with the bowls that I notice that over the last like 10 years is that it bypasses that kind of mechanism within the body. So you're able to actually do that level of work that you need to do and see things from a different perspective because you're not challenging the body where the body is not fighting back saying no, 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 that we got to stay in that fight or flight situation. It bypasses that mechanism in the brain so you're able to get to that relaxation response, and it also works with the brain waves,
Yes.
and alters those states, and it helps you to, so if you do have to do like that deep inner work, this helps you to get there so you can, right? That's at least from my experience of doing it.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is like a what you just described is a lot of like a Western concept, like and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful meeting, I would say, from the Western science perspective of like the how the sound works with like the certain like a theta beta waves in your brain, right? In that
Hmm.
one, and also like how the sound actually works in the idea of like when you are training yourself into more deeper meditation in the Eastern front, right? So
Yeah.
it's a very amazing like a meeting point of like what East and the West has trying to conclude the same way, right?
Yeah.
When you're thinking about like a very deep like a Vedic mantras, like I mean, like a lot of time the mantras are the repetitive sound that has been composed in a certain notes and certain like rhythms and certain sorts, like they we what we believe in that is like they have an innate number of energy, like like a amount of the energy in there, and that energy has the intelligence, that the pocket of the energy, the sound, the vibration, that kind of energy, like intelligence that is coming, right? That is what I think the quantum physics is also trying to prove, that there is like a particles and then there's like a lower level, and the vibrations that is like sometimes they act like something, sometimes like act like this, sometimes so that intelligence is what is a cosmic intelligence,
I was going
right?
to say it's like a
Yeah,
cosmic. It's all
yeah,
it's the universal language that our ancestors, that as far as the white folks, us white folks,
yes, of course, anyone,
forgot
yeah, anyone,
because
everywhere in the world.
but we have forgotten that because of like these aspects, right, with colonization and things like that, we've been conditioned to turn the
Yes.
power over to be disconnected from that
Yeah,
source,
I would say that.
right?
Yeah, because I mean, like I mean, yeah, I mean, for me to, I mean, coming in this position and say I will not go into that level because I'm not into that. I mean, obviously, I'm not in, your belong to your, community. But what I would say is yes, like so obviously, like this disconnection with yourself had has this mental construct, or something like, okay, there are something else who will heal me. There are some medicine, there are some, this is the only way. But like like what they call it, like alternative medicine, is like, no, that is not only the way, because like there are so many medicines though, because nature is you cannot just bound by your thoughts, that is not bound by just the language, that is not bound by just like the what you have as a whole humanity has just achieved in certain this, like thousands of years, right?
Right,
Nature is
right.
profound, like the cosmos is universe is profound. So there are so many languages you can speak that could heal you. There are so many things that you can do, or like there are so many aspects, like that you have not even those avenues you have not reached, neither in the
Mhm.
deep in the sea, or like deep in the core of the earth. So to limit the knowledge to, okay, this is only right, I'm gonna do this, or like this is, I think that is a more profound way of like making yourself boxed in certain thought. People most I would argue, like everyone need to experience something like out of the box, or like the
Yeah.
mental conditioning, and then see that, hey, this is what I'm more than this.
So I guess a few things come to mind for me. One, in listening to you, look, I've noticed a huge surge, even myself, in people wanting, sound healing
Yeah.
and or sound baths or gong baths, all these kind of things in their lives. And it seems to be especially since the pandemic. Do you know what the reason that might be of like why, first of all, like why that is so popular right now? And two, is there a difference between things like sound bath, sound healing and sound yoga, as what you brought into another mix? Is there a difference between those kind of constructs?
Yes, yes, certainly, right? Certainly, and I think one of my main focus is to educate the people in what the differences are,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, to give you a first answer to your first question. I myself as a sound healer has seen the surge in that. I mean, what my friend, I have a friend, and Lauren, and we were talking yesterday, and she was talking, oh, you are in demand, right? So yes, I have definitely seen that, definitely been that. I have been in here, I would say, because like people in the pandemic, we all have this kind of experience where we just realize innately like something is bigger than us, like what we thought like this whole life, like what our normal life would be. Well, in during the pandemic, that reflected, well, it is not. At one point, if a virus break out, we have to sit in the uh, house, we have to be limit ourselves with the 6 feet distance. So those kind of limitations I experienced myself, and like I think a lot of people experience that, is like this limitation of ours really brought this like or like explode or like started this idea of like, well, is there bigger than us, like there was a, and some people it was intentional, some people it was unintentional, like because we live in such a, I mean, this is America, and like it's a such a materialistic, such a capitalist, such a like a busy life, not even giving that word, such a busy life. We just go to the work, we just have to pay the bills, go to the work, and we never think that, okay, and we all think that, okay, this is normal, right? And then this pandemic showed that, well, that is not normal, like that is not normal. We can sit, we can talk with the people, we can I mean, we can care about each other, like my somebody was dying, somebody was this, and they were having, that's a tragedy that really felt that, and then say that, hey, you know what, we as a humanity can reflect that, yes, there has some limit for us in this life, right? And also that give this idea is like, are we are we more than this? And definitely we are more than this, like every religion, every culture, everything would say you that, okay, you are the light, either you would say you are the child of the god, or like you are a god, or even like you are a light, you are this, you are that, right? Everything says that, and still we just listen to that. We don't really experience it, we don't try to seek it, we don't try to live it, right? Because that is what the spiritual path is, that is what the yogic path is. Now when you talk about the second path, definitely there's a difference between a sound bath, there's a difference between sound healing, there's a difference between sound yoga. When you just, let's say, in the world, when you just take a bath in the sound, most of the time, you go outside and you see the trees, the sound of the river, the sound of the birds, everything, that is a sound bath too, right? You see that the beautiful song, you are in this beautiful, like a the music of your taste, right? You are into the concert or something, you are that is sound bath, that is liberating too, right? So I would say most of the sound bath, whenever you are using sound, surrounded by yourself, and you're experiencing that sound and the vibration, and just limiting to that for a very short period of time, you're like very pumped, you go to the you know certain, like a rock concert, you are pumped, and then you go to the jazz, you are like, and here, yeah. So those kind of stuff, I would say, like a sound bath, that categorize as a sound bath. When you say like a sound healing, now as a healer, I'm sure you would know that, but like you have to put an intention on the healing, right? Like when you are working, you have to put intention. So you are using a sound intentively to heal something, be a trauma, or be it something like anxiety, or something like a mental, like something, some people cannot focus, some people cannot go, and certain thing. So if you use singing balls or any other instrument to heal, to work on the certain level of body or the mind or the spirit itself. If you are communicating with, like, I see a beautiful like a drum behind you, if you are using that drum to communicate with the ancestor of yours, and then you pass that message to your client, that is healing, and that is sound healing. See, so that is the thing, like, people try to, obviously, again, like, we talked that before also, but try to put everything in one. They will put I'm doing sound healing and the reiki and the kundalini activation and this, but what they are using is, they are using just like a very cheap crystal balls, or like, certain things, like, sorry, I'm not going to say that, don't want it to, offend anyone, but like, they are just trying to use some like, regular stuff, and they don't have any idea of the intention or any backup with the scriptures or backup with the tendencies, or like, their methodology to work on that, and they are
I
just
will,
playing the balls, and they're just
yeah,
saying that, oh, it is sound healing, right?
yeah.
That not true.
I would just say it's like getting an addictive high because there's lack of depth. And it's something I've seen, and I've been trying to find better ways to describe it. And from a word standpoint, is it's nice, but it doesn't get to the roots. It doesn't get
Yes.
to the stuff that we actually really want to access and heal. So I say it's like going out and just having a glass of wine. And I question sometimes when we do all this surface stuff and it gets you like really like kind of high, that is it like a next level addiction, right? Which
Yeah.
brings me to like a question like what, crystal bowls do seem to be quite popular. And what is the difference between using like crystal bowls for sound healing versus like metal bowls? I know for me personally, I'm afraid because of the deep stuff that I do, that
Yes.
we work in my office, that the crystal bowls just are going to crack and break, But
Yeah, so yeah, that's again, like, I get that a lot, because I go to a lot of festivals, and I sell my, the balls also, like, I make my own balls and I sell them too, and always people are coming to, ask about like a crystal balls versus the metal balls, which is good, which is wrong, right.
right.
Well, obviously I will be a little bit biased because I use metal balls, but
I personally like the metal bowls. It's just
but
me
I will
personally.
not. I will try not to be like, that. I say crystal balls are great if you are really, if your lineage, I would not say lineage, but if your training is the Western idea, like, Western sound healing methodology. So if you are working with the theta waves or the beta waves, because what we get from the crystal balls are very fine tuning the exact notes, okay, which the metal balls lack. Because and I would say that myself too, because, like, if because these metal balls are hand molded, and to get the right note, it would be hard. Crystal balls are machine made, right? They are, I think, 1940s or something, some German, like, they started using crystals as the balls, and they started linking each crystal like a notes to the chakras, right? So you see this like a, when you say like a chakra healing, you do a lot of crystal balls, but that chakra healing, and people again need to understand, is according to the Western thought of the notes. So do I believe that? I said yes and no also, right? For me personally, what I believe that is like a, some certain person did and certain experiment to the certain amount of the people in the 1940s, or like, something like a, a 19th century, not doesn't necessarily have been would implement in here. That is my personal view, right? For example, when you talk about the root and you talk about the C, does all the C works with just the root, or like, for some people maybe it's a D, or some people E. That I'm not really very much convinced about the idea of this, right? um for but what I would say is, like, yes, if you are looking for something like, like a serious healer, and yeah, there are, I have a lot of friend who use crystal balls, and they are amazing healers, and they can heal because they would know, they have to be trained on the idea of the crystal balls and how the notes work, and how the the brain waves work on that level. right? So I would definitely say, yeah, you have to understand when there. Now, when you talk about the metal balls, like you need to understand that the metal balls are the classical balls. These are the one that is, you can say, like a vintage balls, which like I had one which is like a 700 years ago, like the Jambati, the Manipuri, like those kind of, but they have been coming from the lineage and the lineage of like ancestors, our ancestors, right? So when you talk about these metals are associated with astrology also. These metals are associated with like healing also, because you see a lot of like Indian woman, or like like a like Nepalese, like a woman's and like a man wearing a lot of gold and a lot of silver, and this, see, this is a metallic healing. This is a metallic vibrations, right? So that is a different, and it is also a belief. Our whole system is a lot of time like it's a very strong belief of like what you believing in yourself, you believing in a tool that will vibrate, and that vibration will align with my vibration, the universal vibration is aligned with my vibration. So that kind of belief is different. You talk about the like a chakra healing with the sound bowls. There are words in each of the chakras which we call the bees words, right? Seed, like a seed mantra or a bees mantra, like lum, wum, rum. I'm sure a lot of people have seen that, like with the chakra symbol and the law, the the pictures of that like a Sanskrit words, right? That's called bija. Bija means the seed word, where you can
Mm.
chant them and where you can produce that similar style of the vibration with this metal ball. See, the approach is different. It is up to you
Yeah.
which you will take, which you will not take. But you cannot I mean, like you cannot say that, okay, I would do your chakra healings, but if you don't buy the like a crystal ball, and I will do the lum, rum, worm, like that. You cannot mix up. So this has been a lot of mix up, which I don't. I wouldn't say I don't approve, but like I don't really see as a right thing for the people to want. So
Yeah.
I people need to be actually at this point. I think like I want people to be educated on like which, like why somebody is taking $25 or like certain price for this
Mhm.
his sound healing, or why somebody is charging like $100 with that kind of certification, that kind of experience, that kind of thing, right? So people need to be understand. And obviously crystal balls are very popular because it's easily accessible, like you can go to the Etsy, you can buy in here, and it's easy to play. Middle balls are hard to play, right? Either it is a regular smaller ball. I'm sure, like I told my friends, people that who are buying balls from me, is like, please don't go and just use it for 2 or 3 days and don't. You have to use it. You have to be, I mean, if you are meditating with the balls, at least 5 to 10 minutes a day, per day, give it a try for a week, 10 days, or a month. You definitely will feel the difference. So
Yeah,
that's the
and
thing.
I guess from my experience too, what I've noticed, and sometimes when I can feel it in the air, I tell when I do groups, I say, if you come every month, once a month, you might find that the sound sounds differently. Because I said I also find like sometimes the density in the air, like the metal bowls have like a personality. And they
Yeah.
can feel like the density in the air and they'll sound differently. And if the energy is clearer, they will sound differently, and I've also used them. I don't know if this would fall into the sound healing category, but I've been able, and I kind of was taught how to use them as a diagnostic tool as well, you
Wow.
know, because they will sound differently, and so it's just kind of like, you have to, just like when we work, for those who work with spirit guides or whatever, it's, you have to work with them like they're a partner, they're part of your team,
Yes,
they're
yes,
part
definitely.
of, you have to build a relationship with them. It's not just
Yes.
a tool.
No.
You have to befriend them, and see what their quirks are, find out what your quirks are, and all these other things. And that's at least just like kind of what I've learned, with working with the bowls, and I've seen differences in how I kind of integrate them with other kind of types of therapies that I do. And it's been quite a profound
Hmm.
experience for me because you know, I don't know where I would be blending that with some of the things I do, but you have to, like what you said, I heard you say earlier, you have to listen. Some people like
Yes,
to do,
yes,
and really it's about deep listening. And I think
yes, that is
regardless
true.
of a lot of things, it's really about deep listening, right? And another question is, I know for me, this is a thing. I'm very choosy. Like I keep
Yeah.
hearing I probably need probably two more bowls. I know I had gotten one from you already, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But I'm always particular, at least myself, on where bowls are made, and how they're made. Because for me, how I see it, it's the energy behind the bowl. It's the energy that goes into the bowl, right? That's at least how I see it. And metal is very, like electrical conduction, right? It really works with the energy very nicely. So, how are the bowls made, and why does that matter?
Well, obviously, like, well, I'll be in deep trouble if uh, I'm sure I'll be in deep trouble to say this, but I'm gonna say you the truth, and a lot of folks would be, like, disappointed to hear this. But like,
But
yeah,
this is why it's called triggers in spiritual medicine. So this is a
yeah,
reason. So
yeah.
we're good.
I would say, like, 90%, 98% of the balls are made in Nepal, right? So there is no when even yes, we say it's a Tibetan balls, and yeah, the the term was very like profound, because like a Buddhist were definitely the one that started using that, while like the Hindu aspect maybe come later, like we can go with that history. But like now, I mean, we can see the political situation of Tibet, and nothing is made in Tibet, right? It's just a name that got stuck. Maybe it was a political, because I mean, Tibet for Americans were very much like something that has been repressed by the Chinese government and everything, right? But anyway, like I would say, I mean, like for a fact that 90% of the balls are made in Nepal, right? It's India.
Mhm.
Now, if you talk about some of the vintage balls, like very much of the vintage balls, they are collected. They are collected from the villages of Nepal. They are collected from villages of India. They are collected from the Tibet, and I would say that I will give that, like and that is why they are. Some of them are very expensive too. But again, the, like putting so much money, you really need to understand where the ball came from, who is bringing that balls, how can I authenticate that, right? Because now you see, I see people buying so many balls, so many this, without knowing anything. You need to understand that people are trickier too. This is a age of AI. Like you can say it is made in Nepal, but like some certain person are selling that, some certain things are selling that, and so anyway, no, let's not go to the business part, but like that is where the balls are made. The first thing. Second thing, why it is important in here is because, like, you see, most of the ball, when you make there's a certain ways to make them. There are certain mantra inscriptions that you put, certain yantra, certain that is invocation, certain, I mean, for me, I do ritualize balls, right? You put the certain energy into it, and that is what I was talking with somebody in there, like my very good friend, and she's a crystal ball player, is like now, since the crystal balls are made in like machine made, uh, that is what a lot of healers would feel, that there's a different personality to the ball, because, like, for example, something like this, somebody made it, like from the hand. Something has to be done. This human touch is very important, and that is why we say the handmade or hand hammered. That is like somebody is making, somebody is putting that energy into it. Somebody has the intention of creating something into it, right? It is not
So the
like a
mastery.
massly, yes, posturing. It's not like a massly produced. It's not like, oh, since the crystal balls are very popular, and like we can make it in the thousands and thousands of things, let's make the thousands of those. It's not like that. There are certain artisanal who makes, there are certain people who make, there are certain things to make. And yes, there are now, because of the popularity of this, and people, there are big companies, like I have seen a lot of big companies, like people, companies owned by in here, they started going in there and try to make it mass. And like, yeah, you see that online where they are saying, they have like a thousands and thousands of sales, and this and that. Well, they are trying to monetize you. But definitely I want people to know, like, who is selling that, what kind of people are selling that. people with the knowledge, without the knowledge. And obviously, if there is a big company, there's a big, like in here, maybe it is more commercialized than if you are buying the balls with like a smaller companies, somebody who just brought up in there, right? They have more physical connections to the roots of that. So that is what that really matters in the sense, who makes that, what kind of intention they put, what kind of thing they have.
I know for me, I don't know how people buy metal bowls online to begin with, because every bowl I have gotten, there was either some sort of story, or it
Yes,
was always what was behind it, because that was the medicine. And I'm
yes,
kind
that
of
is the
like the
medicine.
carrier of the medicine. So the bowl is the medicine, and I'm just the carrier or the messenger for it. And so I have to hold it. I have to feel it. I have to feel the energy behind it and how it was made. And I think that is the lost art, right? I think that's where we go into like how colonization can infect it, and
Yes,
how we don't always understand the differentials behind it. And these are the small kind of little nuances, but can make the difference between really deep, profound, long lasting healing and what I call the new wave of addictive, toxic, kind of like this addiction of like get the high, get the high,
yes.
get the high, the spiritual high. And that I see, I'm very concerned about that causing repercussions down the road, and I think if nothing else, I want folks just to who are listening just to be mindful, like are you treading in that way? And I can understand we are a culture of burnout, right? And people just want to feel better, and I get that. But sometimes always chasing that adrenaline high, or that high isn't always going to get you there. It's not the long lasting high, the long lasting healing of happiness and joy and
Yes.
all those things that really what you really are seeking, right? So I'm just curious, like, what got you, what got you into doing this work here? Like, what was that start for you? And how did you go, like, what brought you here to make you say, like, I want to be an educator
I know.
to teach people on the differentials and the real medicine that really is like, if I don't teach this, I know this even from my Japanese teachers too. It's like if they didn't teach that lineage of Reiki, it would have died with them. So it's like without teaching these roots, these real deep medicines, you're kind of like a carrier, or one of the carriers of this as well.
Well, I think, if you ask this question to each any of the the light bearers, or like whatever we call it, right? Like a healers, or like educators or something, they would say that it's like most of them, I would say, is like it's like it's not what I'm supposed to do. It just happened, right? And it's just like you just said, that I'm just a carrier of that, right? I was not in this country to teach this. I was happened to become like any Asian, like either a lawyer or the IT engineer, right? But like I said, it just brought me in here. I was raised a very religious like a household. I was always drawn to this thing. I was always drawn to tantra. I was always drawn to like meditation. And there have been certain incidents in my life that I have experienced myself, that really affirmed this thing. And I mean, until my teenage, until I came in here. And I mean, like, I always had thought that if I stayed in Nepal, yes, there would be certain point where I would go fully spiritual, or do a sannyas too, or do this. But when I decided to come in here, that was not in my mind. Is like, I would never ever be the educator of this, like or the point of this, like a healing and this and that. But it just I and slowly it just turned out to be like, this happened, right? I started very slow. We had a earthquake in Nepal in 2015, and then we started actually, it's amazing that I started selling my stuff in a old South church. The minister of the church was a very good friend of mine, and she told me that, hey, I wanted to help the people of Nepal. And for me, rather taking just the money, like, I wanted to sell something or offer something to the people. So she's provided the space, and we started selling, and doing like a certain things from Nepal, made by Nepal. And then we built an elementary school that was completely destroyed by earthquake in my hometown,
Mm.
in Nepal. We did that in 2017 when I went back home, and then we did that. So, and during that time when it is funny because during that time I put some of the balls that I have to teach the people in the thing. And it's funny that I thought, like, people would like certain other things, but, like, they were always stopping by in the middle of the Boston, in the middle of the complete squad. People were stopping, and they were telling there, and they were saying this and they were saying that, and I'm like, oh my god, there is so much misinformation about the balls. Like, there is so much misinformation about that. They take it as a magic pill,
Mhm.
and for that, my people are responsible too, because they sell it as a magic pill. They try to sell it, they try to commercialize it, they try to add a lot of unicorns, a lot of colors. They try to say this chakras, that chakras. They try to make it a thing that people just went, like, crazy. And there's not a one person who can authenticate that as this. You don't need the balls. I know it's controversial, me selling the balls. You don't need the balls. You don't need this is not what will take you to enlightenment. This is the tools. It will
Yeah.
help you. It's not the enlightenment. It
It's
is
just
not
like
like,
any tool, any
yes,
tool,
it's
any
like,
any
we
tool that's external.
and in here, and then here people think that if I get the ball, if I get the green ball, or balls, and then my heart chakra will open. If I get the ball with the third eye symbol, my third chakra will open, right? that kind of thing that kind of
Yeah.
thing really hit me, and I'm like, oh my god, this is wrong. And the notion about the kundalini, notion about that, and obviously the tantra is always very much like have a very bad reputation in the western. And it's not only me, all the amazing, like, gurus, and all the teachers are still fighting on that. I'm nobody. I'm just like just a seeker, right? So in that sense, and that, obviously people, when discuss with our tantra, they will say about the sex, and I'm not saying it is not there, but there's a very small portion of that, and there is very individual practices. But the whole out of like a 98 about of tantric energy or this and that is to find yourself. It's an expansion of your own idea. It's an expansion of your own experience. Is to see that maybe there is outside something, some kind of god, some kind of higher power, some kind of this protecting me. I don't know, but what is inside of me? And that is why we call it like a kundalini tantra, is because it it tells you that each of the energy point represent each of the deities, each of the holy place. Everything is in you, because according to the tantra, whatever the universe is, it's you. So you don't have to always search for the universe, search for the higher power outside. You can search inside, and it's easier because it is already in there. So that is what the we'll talk the tantra podcast maybe next time. But that is what got into me into the sound healing balls. That is what went in. And where I was born, where I was in my town, Bhaktapur and Patan, like I have a one in here, is very much known for, like, the metal work, right? We are very much into that in here. And I grew up like seeing this, like playing with this. I grew up with this, yeah. And that is how it got me into it. But how I got into this is like, yeah, again, there's a very interesting stories behind that, like why. I mean, even my friend in Nepal still said that, why would you go and teach yoga in US? Like, you can just teach it here, like it's more profound. And I'm like, well, I was supposed to be, like it's like, it's supposed to be that I have to come in here, and I'm trying my best to tell people as honest, as authentic as I have learned or I have experienced from where these things came from. And yes, I have seen a lot of labels of that, like, and mistakes from my people did before and before and before to make it this. The understanding of the people, now even right now I tell people that you can just Google it, right? You can just use Chat GPT or something to understand the authentic answer. Just don't say that you saw somebody in TikTok that made in Nepal. It would be made in Nepal. Like you have to be a
Right.
little bit more. If you are buying it for just ambience, like and that is another thing people would say, like, okay, what is the difference? My ball doesn't ring. My ball have a things like there are some balls you just buy for ambience. They will look good. They will have a nice colors to it, like in here, right? That is fine. You can buy from anywhere, buy from Timu, buy from this, right? But
Right.
if you are buying from the healing, your yogic purposes, you need the intention behind that. You need that medicine, like what you term. You definitely need to give more focus, more energy to it when you are in there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, what would be three tips if somebody was a seeker or new seeker, or even just wanting to deepen? What would be three tips that you could offer, in whether to, how to deepen, whether their yoga practice or their sound
Yes.
practice? What would be some tips that you could offer?
So I would say, like, if you see the categorize the metal balls, I'm not going to the crystal balls. I'm not very much well known about that, well known on that subject. But like, if you are talking about the metal balls, you need to understand there are certain level of the balls. You have like a smaller balls which are machine made. You have some like like a 8 to 9 inch balls, like individual balls which are not tuned, right? And you have that singing balls. Now again, there a lot of people don't even know that there's a difference between the sound balls and the singing balls, right? Singing balls, when you say singing balls, it has to have a note onto it because it need to sing, it need to harmonize, right? Sound balls, any balls are sound balls because it makes sounds, right? So I would say if you are just a practitioner of yourself, like just want to practice the balls during the meditation, before your yoga or after your yoga, or during the yoga you wanted to start with that, you can just use any balls between 4 inches to 6 to 7 inches, right? You can go that in there. And then like a this is an individual ball. I'm sure you have seen that, like I might have some in here, but I don't think I have that anyway. So you can use that, right? Now if you are Reiki masters, you have certain healing practices you want to do. Those smaller balls will not work. You have to have at least like a the first thing you need to know is the handmade balls, because it's more about the vibration. What you are trying to do is to amplify your energy to it, right? You are using a tool for your client to cleanse all that has been deposited. So see, so the smaller balls, the individual ball doesn't work. So you need to make sure that you have something like like a metal sorry, handmade balls where the vibration is the key rather than the sound. Okay, where you can put into the people's body and then use it too. So that is the second way to all the healers. Like I want I want them to use the handmade balls especially. Now for the sound healers, or somebody who wants to heal the person even one on one also, I'm not only talking about the group, uh, try to collect the balls with the notes. Like they are different intention, different things. Then you can definitely work as a sound healer. You can work with like a, chakra balancing for like a individual people. You can do that for like, just because you have money and you don't know, you are not working in the for the sound healing, you don't need the 7 set. It's completely, again, it's completely commercialized that, oh, I will need the 7 set and this and that, right? Unless you are a serious seeker, unless you are that is your profession, you are a, like a, in here you don't need those things. You can just stick to smaller balls and like try to collect, try to go behind the medicine, like a story behind the ball, intention behind the ball, why it
Mm-hmm.
is made, what it is made, and yeah, try to go in there.
That's beautiful. And how would, if somebody wanted to either work with you, and I know you even have a retreat coming up in October,
Yes, yes.
and so if somebody wanted to work with you or to learn more information about the retreat to Nepal, what's the best way they can reach you?
So the first thing is like obviously I'm big in Instagram. I'm trying to be. I'm not that, but like people can follow me in like a Boston Vibration in the Instagram. I have my website also bostonvibration.com. They can email me. They can reach out to me. I'm always communicative. Like I have a I love people. I love talking. So anytime any of the things, yes, I am creating a retreat in October. It's going to be a healing retreat. It's going to be a tantric, authentic, Vedic, shamanic healing retreat. Again, I'm not going to take people and just do yoga and sound bath. I think we do that enough in here. You don't have to go to the 7,000 miles and pay that much of money to do that. So I really wanted to show what authentic Nepal has to offer to the people, to the rest of the world. And it is a very core shamanism, it's a very core tantrism, and very core Vedic practices. So I have developed, this is my third time, and that I have developed I have created this itinerary of this, like where people can go and do like this retreat, and have a break of 2 or 3 days where we will go safari, where we'll do hiking, where we will see the mountains, see the temples, all these like energy portals, and then wrap up to become something great, like something changing. I want people to change from this retreat. I just don't want it to be just any other retreat that you will see in the website. You go to the India, Rishikesh or somewhere, and you sit in there and just you do yoga and you get some kind of certification. Actually, I was talking with one of my friend earlier, and I said that, well, you are going in there experiencing that this is like a biohack, the Nepal, like, and then after 12 or 15 days, I want you to, I mean, like, what more certification you will need. Like, you coming up in this idea, this new world, right? What actually it really uh aligns with your is like, terrorizing, I would not say terrorizing, what do you call it, terminizing or something, like, like a shock to the people, is that this is that, the tantric retreat, this is like a tantric healing, this is like a Vedic offering, like, so that is what I'm trying to create, and this is my third options. And until then, I think I have learned a lot, about what people would expect and hear, and each of one, the people who has gone has the profound opening, profound healing to that, which I'm so glad.
Well, it's something to be said about going and seeking and bridging integration with sacred practices with really rooted teachers. I've always been an advocate of that because when you find the teachers, again, like our elders, our wise, our wisdom keepers, all of them, I mean, they're all approaching various ages now. They're not going to live forever, and so we want to make sure that we approach with respect and integrity and honor and gratitude for this is a huge opportunity, and I can't wait to learn more. And yeah, so until next time, thank you so much for joining us. And this was such a great conversation. And I can't wait to hear more about the retreat in Nepal. So thank you for until next time on Triggers and Spiritual Medicine. So, thank you for tuning into Triggers and Spiritual Medicine. We hope today's episode provided insights and action steps to support you on your personal journey. Remember, healing is a continuous process, and by addressing what triggers us, we create space for deeper transformation. If you would like to dive deeper into our community and support our sacred activist work, join us on Patreon, where you'll find more resources and insider content to empower your healing path. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. And please share, like, and engage with us too to help boost our algorithm status. Since this is a community-driven podcast, your support truly makes a difference in helping us reach more souls who can benefit from this journey. Stay connected, stay mindful, and keep doing that inner work. Together, we are building a community that uplifts and heals. So until next time, stay grounded and take care of your soul.